Alrighty, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're at. Hopefully you're able to hear me. Alright, just trying to test this out. Testing 1, 2. And yeah, looks like there is a timer here, so can't see the comments. This is kind of new to me, so excuse me if I'm not an expert at this. Okay, I think I'm okay live. All right. Okay, I think this is much better. Let's see. Well, hello. There's my wife. I love you. Can you, if you can hear me, put the letters MLB. So I'll make sure I can see your comment, that I can be heard. It's my first time doing a live here. I see the hearts. Just put in a comment MLB. No, MLB. B as in boy. MLB. B as in boy. Yeah, make sure you get it right. MLB. Okay, at least I can be heard here. I know my wife is here supporting me. There you go. Thank you so much. And here at home, I just thought I've been uploading some reels here. Thanks to my wife to push me to do that. I think it's a pretty good idea. I wanted to go live. Apparently, if you want to go live via your cell phone or anything else but PC, you have to have at least 50 subscribers, and I'm right there. I just need another 7 or 8 subscribers to get to that point. Hopefully I'll get there by the time this project really starts here. So thankfully I'm able to go live via my laptop. And let me know if I'm too loud, if I'm not loud enough. I got a new microphone, a Blue Yeti, and so just want to make sure I sound pretty good and not too loud or not too low. So just let me know in the comments. And yeah, got this idea here to, I'm someone that I like to do my little leagues, my own, just to entertain myself, but had the idea of trying it out with YouTube, uploading content. So, with this league. So I know I've done content in the past. I've uploaded short. Okay, a little too loud. So let's lower this down a bit. The gain might be, lower that down. Sweetie, you might want to go to the room. Maybe you're too close to me, even though you're not in the same room. That might help, but anyway, yeah. So I opted to try it out on YouTube. I have a lot of great ideas. A lot of them, maybe I can't talk about right now because I kind of want it to be a surprise. Hopefully, it does come to fruition. Some of the things I can talk about now. I opted to do 16 major league teams for a few reasons. I guess primarily it really helps for me not to be burnt out. Doing a league with 32 teams will be double the work and double the probability of burning out. So I didn't want to do that. I want to make sure that I had a reasonable amount of teams, and that way that higher my probability of getting these seasons out of the way and letting this be something that's more consistent. And so I'm opting to go with more quality than quantity. Maybe if this is my primary source of income and this is what I did all day, then I would probably be more open to doing that. But right now I'm going to stick with this, see how it goes. So about the 16 teams, some of you might not know the history of Major League Baseball. I can probably assume a lot of you guys do know, but just for reference, I opted to use the original 16 franchises. The National League going, to the late 1800s, 1880s, 1890s, and the American League in 1901. And, because since I wasn't going to use the whole league, I said, how am I going to break this down? What teams would I use? Who's in and who's out? And, I'm someone who loves the game of baseball. I've loved it, since I was 7, 8 years old, and into my teen years is when I really got deep into it and started to learn the history of baseball. After having a few years as a fan, watching, that current, that then current product, which is pretty much, late 90s, early 2000s, so the steroid era. Then after the steroid era, that's when I just had the interest, to learn about the history of baseball. And so, as many of us know, there are 16 teams that have been in the league for 60 years, for the first 60 years of what I consider as Major League Baseball, which I'll say started in 1901, since the American League became a league in 1901, thus, completing what we know today as Major League Baseball. And so 60 years, just 16 teams. Within those 60 years, teams did move cities, teams did change names, but they still technically, all 16 are still part of the league as we speak today, and probably will be for the rest of time. And those are the 16 teams that I've opted to use. For those that don't know, in the National League side, that would be the teams that are known today as the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Chicago Cubs, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, the San Francisco Giants, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Those 8 teams have made up the National League, for many a decades. And then on the American League side, we have the Oakland Athletics, the Minnesota Twins, the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Indians. I know they're currently now called the Cleveland Guardians, but I grew up when I was watching baseball with the Cleveland Indians, and of course they've had that name for many a decades. Then there's the Baltimore Orioles, formerly known as the St. Louis Browns, just like how the Twins were formerly known as the Washington Nationals Senators for 60 years. And then the Boston Red Sox, and of course, my favorite team, last but not least, the New York Yankees. So those are the teams that make up the 16 original Major League Baseball teams. And that's who I plan on using for this league. Because there's so much history among those 16 teams. So unfortunately, I had to leave out the 14 expansion teams. So if you're a fan of any of those teams, I apologize. But like I said, I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to be consistent, with this content and be able to put out as much as possible. And so that's why, and given that I work, it's kind of hard with time. So that's why I opted to do 16 teams. When it comes to the amount of games per season, I've debated that among a few different options. I even considered doing the 162, which that would be 1,290 or 1,296 games in the whole regular season. I even had, the schedule structure, teams would have been playing in 5-game series, home and away, and then plus, 12 extra games to make it, instead of 150, 162. I was debating on that, but I'm leaning toward not doing that, as that is like a marathon. It's a lot. I mean, essentially that would be great if I could, but right now I just want to get the content out there and hopefully make it a reasonable time for the regular season, so that way we can get to the postseason and enjoy that as well. As obviously that's the most fun. It is postseason. The other options were 60 games, which I was leaning towards that pretty heavily, and 30 games. I think right now I'm leaning toward 30. Again, that could change. It could be 30, it could be 60, could be 162, it could be a different number. But at the moment, I'm leaning toward 30, which pretty much would mean, to keep it simple, hopefully, it's easy to understand. Let's use the Yankees as an example. The Yankees will play all 15 teams twice. A game at home, a game away. If it's 60 games, then it'll be 2 home, 2 away. If it's the 162, it'll be 5 home, 5 away. And then there's the extra 12 games, which I figured out what I'm going to do with that as well. So these 3 options, I do have the structure on how I want to schedule the season, but I'm just not sure which of the 3. At the moment, I'm leaning more toward 30. That way, it's, of course, not too short of a season, but not too long either. 60 seems like a good number as well. So this is something I'm thinking from now till I start with this project and uploading games. I'll make the final decision, and we'll let you guys know. And so, with that, I have other ideas when it comes to all-star games and home run derbies, the postseason. These are things that maybe I want to get into a little bit more later. But I'm pretty much got a firm idea on what I want to do with those things there. Just to clarify, I'm not playing any of these games. It would take a long time, and I just want this to be different. So I know some creators do computer versus computer, but if I'm not mistaken, most creators, they go ahead and play, which is fine. But I wanted to do it that way. I will be recording games and hopefully doing something a little special. I really hope it comes out the way I'm imagining it, because I know it definitely would interest me if I was a viewer, and hopefully it would interest you. If you're listening to this video, it is absolutely free to subscribe to this channel, to like this video, to comment. I would like that support, to know that my fellow baseball fans, my fellow MLB The Show fans, will give me that support. So hopefully I can get this project started, get it going, and hopefully maintain this project and pretty much be Mr. Consistent, for many years to come. But going back to the amount of games again, lean toward 30 or 60. That way, there's, the postseason comes a lot more often. We can just, say call it season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, etc., etc. Once I'm done with 1, maybe have a little break, and then go ahead and go to season 2. But yeah, if you see this video, if you have any questions that I may be able to answer at the moment, I'll definitely do that. There might be some things that you may ask that I don't have the answer for at the moment, or it's something that I don't want to, talk about at this time. Will probably be talked about down the road. But I'm definitely excited. Can't wait for this project to start. I will be uploading some videos. The roster's pretty much done. And ready to go, let's say 98, 99% done for the most part. But I'm just trying to work on other things to make this project, or to make this league different. I just want to captivate the audience. And, my respects to the MLB The Show creators. They upload the content. A lot of times, I decide to buy an edition of the show due to these videos that, my fellow content creators post. I hope to do something different, something exciting, something that hopefully will earn your attention and earn you as an audience member. So very excited for that. And, it's just something that, should be the beginning of something big. And most likely I will be scheduling the games to upload, at a primetime slot. That way most of you guys that work during the daytime will be home and be able to enjoy then or whenever you like to watch your YouTube videos. Please watch my videos. I have been doing some reels. I also have shorter videos that I posted. For all 16 teams, I posted videos on the roster. So if you want to see whether it's a certain team, whether your favorite team is, the Cubs, or whether it's the Athletics, or what have you, then go ahead. I titled them. Definitely take a look. If you want to look at the whole league because you want to see what it's all about, then definitely do that. When it comes to the rosters, you'll definitely see some things that are maybe not 100% historically accurate. And of course, I had to do that in order to fit certain people. So for an example, right off the top of my head, I know there's 2 examples of people, or players rather, that are playing on teams that they never played with. So we'll use George Brett and Tony Gwynn as 2 examples. George Brett played with the Royals for his whole career, over 20 years. Tony Gwynn, who played 20, I believe, or 19 or 20 years, played his whole career with the San Diego Padres. 2 teams franchises that unfortunately are not in the league. Both began play in 1969. And these two legendary Hall of Fame players played their whole career with those respective teams. Now, of course, with those teams not being in the league, I did not want to leave those two players out. Those are two players that I admire. Gwynn, my first couple of years as a fan was in, his last few years of his career. So I do recall Tony Gwynn. Of course, George Brett was already retired by the time I started watching baseball, a few years before. But I know he's someone that my dad definitely watched a lot of, especially since the Royals and the Yankees were rivals during that time frame. And so George Brett, I fit him in the Chicago White Sox. Third base was a little, I don't want to say on the weak side, but I was trying to find a pretty strong third baseman for the White Sox. There are teams that their lineups are maybe not as strong as others. Maybe the White Sox lineup on its own, was not as strong as, say, excuse me, I'm a little sick here. Not as strong as, let's say, Boston or New York. So I wanted to make sure that there was more of a balance. And excuse me, had a little cough there. Want to make sure there was balance. And so I have to put George Brett on the White Sox. Tony Gwynn, and I put him in Philadelphia. And so you may see that, as you're looking through the rosters, as you're looking through the starting rotation, as you're looking through the lineups, you may see players that have never played with a team before, but that's really the only way I can get them in the league. And so you'll see that. So again, this league is not 100% historically accurate, and and I knew that, and I'm okay with that. This is a Legends League. Think of the greatest of all time. I do have some players there that are more like, say, guilty pleasures, because I grew up watching them. So I wanted to incorporate them in the league. So is it 100% the greatest players of all time? Not exactly. But the majority of the league would definitely be considered within the greatest of all time. With some, players of my choosing that I wanted to see in the league. And so I did all that, so there's a balance. In my opinion, there's probably a best team, there's probably a worst team, but when you look at the gap between the best team and the worst team, I don't think it's that much of a gap, so it's going to be exciting. If your team is one of, quote-unquote, the more worst teams, it doesn't mean that you're out of the picture, Every team is great. I make sure that every team is great. And that way this league could be very competitive, unpredictable. And given that the AI will be playing every game, both sides, it definitely will be interesting on how everything irons out. And so, that's, I believe, what I have for now. More information may come up as we get closer to opening day. And so, any questions, any comments, any feedback, just let me know. Hopefully I can get the ball rolling. I have been working on some things. I already got the rosters taken care of. I even have some stadiums taken care of as well. They may not be 100% perfect, but I think they're good enough to use for this league that will be broadcasted on YouTube. And so I'm very excited for that. And so, yeah, so I might be doing these live videos maybe once or twice a week. And so, kind of update you guys and see where I'm at. And definitely we'll be giving you the heads up when it's closer to opening day. Most likely, I will be changing my YouTube handle. We'll be adding a thumbnail to my channel. So I'm going to rebrand it probably not too long before we have the opening day. So if you're listening to this and you've gotten to this point in the video, if you see there's a rebrand, well, yeah, definitely want to make this a little sports network or a baseball network. So, so there we go with that. So it's been a pleasure. Whoever's been listening, and I definitely thank my wife for listening, my number one fan. But anyone else has been listening, I definitely appreciate it. And hopefully, this project here will be something that you've been wanting to see, and will maintain the interest of seeing. I hope you guys have a great night, and let's play ball. And I'm going to try to end the stream, and you guys have a great night. And today's Taco Friday.